With my little bestie, I'm telling you, she's more than a friend. She's really, she's my big little sister, and she's gorgeous. And I'm just privileged. They're on their way to a ball game. I'm talking Doug playing in a ball game, and so we got the privilege for them to share a few moments with us. And so the name of our devotion today is called "Down to the Penny." Down to the penny. So when I say down to the penny, Lain, what's that mean?
Well, it means down to the last drop, nothing else.
That's right.
There's no more.
It is calculated
all the way.
All the way. Have you ever balanced your checkbook and you were off a penny or whatever, and it's just or a few cents, and it's like, where is that at? Because you want it to be down to the penny, and when it does balance down to the penny, you're like, woohoo! Is that right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, down to the wire. Well. Lain has got some stories that is going to help you today, and I'm telling you guys, it's another level of faith. And she has been down to the penny. Literally, I'm just going to tell you, they're multi-millionaires. And in one day they were looking in one day, and then the next day looking in the drawers for pennies, for change.
Right.
And so you're going to hear but after that happened, God gave a word. And that was a done deal because
right. like
Lain, you said, it's feast or famine in the real estate company. Tell me about that.
Well, Doug's a home builder and I sell real estate, so that's basically the same business, And you're either loaded, got more business than you can get around to doing, or you don't have nothing. And that's how we've done this for 50 years.
Okay, but now take me here, and then we're going to talk about your stories. You said after you went broke, you were in Dallas.
We filed for bankruptcy in Dallas years ago. I don't even know, 35, 40 years ago, we filed for bankruptcy in Dallas. And so then we started back, and this is a long story, so we can't tell that one today, but we started back. God gave us the money to start a business back. And we started back, and then things got really tight again. And I was just boo-hooing because if you've ever been through bankruptcy, it's not fun. I pay my bills. I used to kid my dad about chasing the mailman down with the bills, and I'm just about as bad. And so we paid our bills, but things happened, and the interest rate went way up to 22% or something like that.
Gosh.
It was just crazy. I don't remember, but it was way up.
Well, the market fell out, right?
Yeah, the market fell. I had all these houses sold. Hundreds of houses sold, and then they couldn't qualify. The people couldn't qualify because of the interest rate. And so that's what caused us to go bankrupt. Well, then we were building again, and we were building big houses, and then it started again, and we weren't selling. And I went back. My brother was down there selling. At that time, we'd already moved back to Hot Springs, where we're from. And my brother was down there selling, and he was trying his best, but he just couldn't sell them. And Doug said, "Lain, you go down there and you sell those houses." And I'm thinking, yeah, well,
no pressure.
Yeah, I can do that, all right. And so for 6 weeks, I stayed in a motel room with my Bible every night, reading my Bible and praying and asking God. And I saw him start clicking them. But I had one house that was horribly ugly. My older brother built it. He just blew it. I mean, that house was just, if you're watching and you bought that house, I'm sorry. But it had a little bitty entryway. It was just awful. Danny just blew it. And
he's not watching today.
No, I'll tell him. He knows. We all know he did. It was a mistake. It was just, we make mistakes.
Sure.
And it was a mistake house. Anyway, and so I had some people come out every night, and they were threatening to buy it, and they hadn't bought it yet. And she said, "It's ugly." And I said, "No, I know it's an investment, lady." I couldn't lie to her. But anyway, the Lord sold that one, the last one, in 6 weeks.
Wow.
In a horrible market, big houses, expensive houses. He just clicked them off. But before he sold the last one, I was praying really hard. And the Lord spoke to me, and he said, "This thing you see, Lain, you will see no more." Oh. And what he was telling me, this financial problem that we had been through lots of times in our early life. We lost $8 million just like that. Mm-hmm. But the financial problems that had been through, we weren't ever going to go through them anymore, because this thing that I saw, I knew when he said, "You're going to see it no more," I knew it would never be back. And to this day, he has blessed us and blessed us and blessed us, because his word is true. And when he tells you something, you can take it to the bank, every bit of it.
Down to the penny.
Down to the penny. every penny of it. It'll all cash. I
love
tell
that.
you.
I love that. Well, and you know that comes, and I know it's. I've heard Rick say God's not a respecter of persons, but He's a respecter of principle. And so the principle is how He set it up in the Word of how to be blessed. Lain and Doug have lived to give. We've seen this operate in their life over and over and over. And so they are willing. And they're saying, God, here it is. I remember, I'm just going to tell you, we were, I guess, the first year of going full-time in ministry, and it's over 30 years now of full-time ministry, but that we came to their church. Lain took me shopping. Guys, I had never experienced this before, and she had a shopping cart. She took me and our two kids who were small, and she started putting stuff in the shopping cart, and I'm telling you, I didn't know how to accept that. I didn't know that feeling, and I said, "Oh, Lain, I can't take that. I mean, you know, that's just too much. It's too much." And she said, "Girl, that's money in the bank for me." And what she was saying was heaven's bank.
That's right.
Because she was giving. So Isaiah 1:19 says, "If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land." So now, Lain, I want to talk about when the Lord spoke to you to give something to someone and you had to be obedient. And this involves a washer and dryer.
Okay. Well, the Lord spoke to me. I was young then too, probably 35 years, 40 years ago. I was in Hot Springs, and the Lord told me to go to this preacher in his wife's house, and He told me to write a check for a certain amount of money. I said, "Lord, I can't do that. I look like, this is stupid." And the reason that it seemed stupid to me was it was not just like, I'm going to just throw an amount out. I don't remember. It's been way too long. I can hardly remember yesterday. And so, but it was like, let's say $667.36 or something crazy like that.
Down to the penny.
It had pennies with it. It did have pennies. I do remember that. And so I said, "I can't do that. He's going to think I'm a complete idiot if I come up there with that check. I mean, what's he going to do with that?" And the Lord said, "You write it for what I tell you to write it for."
Wow.
And I know His voice. And it reminded me of when my daddy would tell me something, and he would say, "Do what I tell you to do," and I was like, "Oh." So I did. And I went to this house and I knocked on the door, and he came to the door, and I was so embarrassed. Because it just seemed stupid, and I'm pretty well known to be Lucy anyway and have these little stupid things going on in my mind, and everybody kind of makes fun of me anyway because I would do such crazy things. Everybody out in left field, I'm in right, Well, I know, that's why we're such good friends. But anyway, so I went up and I knocked on the door, and he asked me in, and I said, "Brother, the Lord told me to bring you this." And I said, I know this don't make any sense to anybody but me and God, but God told me to give you this. He goes to the back of the house, and he brings out this bid on a washer and dryer. Not only did his washer go out, his dryer went out.
Wow.
Like within 2 days, both of them had gone out. And they couldn't afford to go buy a new washer and dryer. And so he brings out this bid from Sears, and it was for a new washer and dryer. And I looked down at it, and it was the exact same amount as the check the Lord told me to write. And it wasn't just for my faith.
Right.
It built my faith that day. Trust me. I knew I could trust God, but it built my faith. But what do you think happened to that preacher when I walked in and he had a bid on a washer and dryer, and I had the check for down to the penny of the exact amount that washer and dryer was going to cost.
That is awesome.
And I gave it to him.
That is powerful. Well, Job 36:11 says, "If they obey and serve Him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasure." And so Lain is a wonderful example of that. They do. And it's because of it's the overflow. You cannot give the Lord. He knows exactly what you need. So Lain, I'd like you to tell me the story. This one's really good too. This one is the other one.
About a car payment.
That's right.
Let me help you out here.
Okay, help me out.
Okay. My dad was a pastor of a church in his later years, and so there was an evangelist that came through, And the Lord told me, this is 2 times in my life, the only
Wow.
2 times in my life where God has told me to give it an exact amount with pennies.
Down to the penny.
With pennies in it. And so the Lord told me to give this man this amount. And so when the offering plate, I wrote it when he told me, because I knew to do it. But I didn't put it in the offering plate because I thought, this is, again, I always question things that seem a little off. I don't know why, because I'm always a little bit off, but, my plumb doesn't hit. But anyway, so I wrote the check, and I didn't put it in. And so then I after the service, I went over to the man, and I said, brother, the Lord told me to give you this. And he looked at me, and he looked down at the amount, and he said, oh my goodness. He said, I just figured this today. It's 3 car payments plus the late pays.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's this exact amount that you just gave me. And so,
down to the penny.
It was pennies again, down to the penny.
Wow.
3 car payments that he was late. I'm surprised they didn't come get his car. But 3 car payments and the late pays, and he caught it all back up.
You know what? What is so interesting, and you think about a loving and compassionate God, that, Jesus, he even died for our mistakes, right? He understood the mistakes that we would even make, and he allowed the extra for it. Mm-hmm. You may think, man, I've gone too far. He's got you covered, down to the penny.
Down to the penny.
It's exactly, that is something else. Matthew 6:8 says, when you pray, don't babble on and on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again. Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask Him.
That's right.
He knows exactly, down to the penny. So, Lain, if you would just, give, because you want to pull this out of her, because she lives the life. Her and Doug, they live the life, and they've seen the blessing and the favor of God. It's exceeding and abundantly above all that you could ever ask or think, according to the power that works in you. So would you minister to those listening that may feel like, man, what am I going to do? It is down to the wire, down to the penny.
I've been driving in my car before when I thought things were getting tight. And I would say, Lord, do you have anybody you want me to bless?
Oh,
because I
now.
knew that if I blessed them, that the Lord was getting ready to pour it in on me. So I would just ask Him out of the blue, you have anybody that I can bless today? Anybody? And if we all, and I'm not telling you I'm perfect, because let me tell you, whoa, if you ever knew me, I have all kinds of faults.
None of us are.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of faults. But I have heard His voice lots of times when it comes to finances, lots of times.
Yes. And
He's blessed me over and abundantly what I could ever think or ask. I've got things that when you can't dream as high as He gives you. When you're a little girl in school and you're one of the poor little girls in school. And then all of a sudden your kids are one of the richest kids in school.
Right.
That's a God thing.
Yes.
That's how God has blessed us. And He wants to bless us all that way. But when our hand is closed and we don't give anything, how can He bless nothing?
Right.
You got to have a seed. You got to have something before something can grow.
That's
right.
right.
So you need to give something out.
Yes.
And no matter what it is, you don't have to have millions of dollars to be a giver. Let me tell you, He blesses down to the penny. I remember the widow. She didn't have it.
Exactly.
But she didn't have it. Gabby had all this. I'm blabbing.
I forgot about it. That's perfect.
But she just had a few, just a few pennies. That's all she had. But that's all it took for her to be blessed. And God made a big deal out of her pennies. And when we don't have but pennies, He's going to bless that too.
That's
because
right.
He's a God of abundance. He wants to bless us all the way.
That's right. We begin to declare a blessing over our listeners now.
Lord, I just thank You. I thank You for all that You've done for me.
Yes.
For this little Arkansas country girl who grew up with nothing, Lord, You've blessed me beyond my wildest dreams. You've blessed Debbie here with me. Lord, I've known her for years and years and years and watched You bless her too.
Hallelujah.
And if You love me and Debbie like that, You love
Jesus.
everybody
Yes,
out
yes,
there the
yes.
same. You know, and I thank you that, Lord, all they've got to do is just open their hand a little bit and give to you, Lord.
Yes,
and you
Lord.
will bless it,
Yes.
shaking down, pressed together, and running over. Because that's the kind of God you are. And I thank
Love
you
you,
for
Jesus.
being that. And we love you, Jesus. We love you.
Man, that's so good. This is so good today. Listen, this has been awesome. Thank you. Oh, wow. Listen, God loves you today. We love you. And have a great, come on, Lain.
Bye.
Let's see your day. Okay, she went.